Words about books. I'm Nate. You're Ben. I'm excited because month number 6, Ben, Throne of Glass, we get to talk about Sarah J. Maas's other book series, compare and contrast. It's going to be great. So, hey, what'd you think of the book?
Oh, Nate, we're not talking about Sarah J. Maas. We're talking about Ernest Cline's big old beautiful book, The Bridge to Bat City.
Oh, God, you're not allowed to use that voice after this introduction.
That didn't stop Felicia Day from talking to me in the world's thickest, fakest, southernest accent there ever did was.
There ever did was.
Everyone who can hear me is complaining right now.
As they should be.
Oh, God. No, we're talking about Bridge to Bat City by Ernest Cline. I listened to the audiobook. Obviously, the main character of this book is a girl, so they couldn't have Will Wheaton do it. So they got girl Will Wheaton, Felicia Day.
That's a little insulting to girl Will Wheaton, to call her girl Will Wheaton.
That's true. She's much more accomplished than Will Wheaton. She's not just remembered as being the worst part of Star Trek The Next Generation, who quit
he also
after
had a
one
tabletop
season.
Thing.
I was going to say,
I wish it were one season.
And I think that's offensive to Felicia Day.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give Felicia Day this. She's her own woman. She built a career. The things she has are hers. She didn't just fall ass first into one of the most beloved franchises of all time, hate it, quit, and then come back later, and then just attend conventions for the rest of her life. So yes.
But he also had a board game show, Ben. He also had that.
Yeah. That
Felicia Day was a part of. Mm-hmm. So
till she wasn't, and he wound up suing the company.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When you said that Felicia Day was doing the audiobook, my first thought was I thought she quit everything and left to go raise her kid. I didn't think she was even doing work in like the public eye anymore. This is new to me.
That kid's got to be pretty old now. So old enough it's in school. So
old enough that he can get a job, or she,
in the mines in Texas, where they're repealing child labor laws at lightning speed.
I thought that was Florida. No, wait, no. Florida's the one where they repealed like water, like you don't have to provide water to your workers, like. Fuck them.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the South.
None of which is good.
Bridge to Bat City. It's
Bridge to Bat City.
So
it's a book by Ernest Cline.
It's a children's
famous
book by
author
Ernest Cline.
of Ready Player One, Ready Player Two, which were 2 of the 3 worst books on this podcast. And Ernest Cline has the distinction of being a 2-time double 1-star loser. So, and then he wrote, we also talked about Armada. You read Armada.
I did.
And you said that was his best book.
And no longer.
One likes it.
No longer. He's
and,
beaten it.
Well, my thought here, looking at the reviews on Goodreads, where he has a 3.8 rating, this is probably going to be his best book, and no one is going to like him for it again, so he's going to write Ready Player Zero, and he's going to try even less than Ready Player 2. And I guess this is going to be his life from now on. Every other book, he's going to try really hard, fail, and then just give up.
I didn't say he tried really hard. I just said it was his best
Tried
one,
somewhat hard. Tried to at least improve. You said he wrote a story with setups and payoffs.
Yes.
That is trying way, way, way harder than Ready Player 2. Yeah. Where they beat the bad guy off screen with fake crystal shards. It's still so fucking stupid. Anyway, Ben,
we're not. Yeah, we
you
can't.
did research on this.
I did.
And in fact, I was actually going to do some research, and then you told me not to, and I'm never going to pass up an opportunity to do less work. So
I think it would be better for you to be surprised. So
okay.
I'm not. We've done the About the Author. Check out our Ready Player 1 episodes. Check out our Ready Player 2 episodes.
And then Armada, just complete the
set.
Whole hat trick.
So, Bridge to Bat City. Let me tell you, instead of telling you about the author, I shall tell you about the marketing surrounding this book. This is Ernest Cline's first children's novel. From the #1 New York Times best-selling author Ernest Cline comes a mostly true tale about an unexpected friendship between a young girl and a music-loving colony of bats. This is the #1 new release in children's farm life books on Amazon. They will make you a category. If you're not #1, they'll make you #1 of something. You're always #1 in Amazon's heart.
What's the category?
Children's farm life books.
That is
not accurate.
True. Yes. They leave the farm. They're on the farm for like 3 chapters and they bail. I'm calling bullshit, Amazon. Until you get us in the #1 category for books written by Nathaniel Creed, I don't want to hear about it. Lied.
I'm sure
it's not a farm life book.
There's someone you can give money to get that category made.
Okay, let's make it happen.
Let's talk about what this is. This is advertised. I'm not sure if this is from Ernest Cline, the publisher, or just whoever shelved it where I was looking. I saw it described as a middle grade book. When I hear middle grade, I think like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that range.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No way. 2nd grade, maybe 3rd grade tops.
I would think this is sub Goosebumps in terms of reading difficulty.
I would also say that Goosebumps will probably engage you a lot more.
Well, I think that's a safe bet because we'll talk about the other weaknesses if this is a children's book. But so keep that in mind. I guess this is not the typical book we would read on Words About Books. We've done a few kids' books here and there, and I'll be honest.
But this is on a different shelf, Ben. That shelf being Ernest Cline books. And as the #1 and #2 Ernest Cline scholars in the world.
That's true.
Not by choice.
Not by choice.
We had to read this.
I think the only other thing we've read that skews this young is Minecraft.
And that was written by
Max Brooks.
Mel Brooks' son. I was going to say that's a little mean, but that's the only way I remembered. But okay.
Young Mel Brooks.
Young Mel Brooks.
No, so take it with a grain of salt. Like this is not my wheelhouse. The rubric is not necessarily built for this.
No, it's built for this, Ben, and we'll get to that.
So
this absolutely will grade it.
What I take issue,
but yeah, you also didn't realize mid-grade was just like the grading for the book. It's very mid.
It's the grady but edible of books, printed on rice paper, just like a communist North Korean propaganda sheet. So, it's a mostly true story. Mostly. Kinda. A little. Maybe. Here's the real story, for anyone who doesn't know. or what this is based on, I should say. We'll weave the details throughout the episode, I guess. But in Austin, Texas, there is a bridge. The Ann W. Richards Congress Avenue Bridge. Every evening in the spring and summer, you can watch, I think, millions of bats fly out from underneath this bridge. They have certainly probably the largest urban colony of Brazilian free-tailed bats in the world.
I thought they were Mexican free-tailed bats, Ben.
Maybe that's another name for the species. I saw Brazilian free-tailed bats.
Well, that's what the book called them, a Mexican free-tailed.
I believe this is coming from the Austin website. So,
well, okay then.
So, the reason they have this bat colony is a quirk of...
Oh, they're the same thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Because when I Google Brazilian free-tailed, it goes to Mexican free-tailed.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't think you got that wrong. The reason...
They definitely didn't rename it because Mexican, as pointed out in the book, is... Anyway, go on, Ben. What's up?
Okay. The reason they have this colony on this bridge is a quirk of the bridge construction. When they were expanding the bridge to be, I think, a 4-lane in 1982, they included these like concrete boxes on the bridge for a different purpose, but it just so happened that they were like perfect bat habitat. And so there was this whole colony of bats shows up. Town thinks they're a nuisance animal. Ragtag band of environmentalists, conservationists come together to save the bats, try to explain that they're really not doing any harm. They don't carry a significant risk of rabies. And in fact, they're actually good for the agriculture. They're good for keeping the mosquitoes down. They'd probably prevent more diseases than they would cause. The campaign is successful. Austin is now known as Bat City. Austin's a giant tourist destination, $10 million in tourism a year, I think. Lots of people go to this bridge to watch the bats. It's a whole thing. They've got tours, t-shirts, all this stuff. Austin also, for anyone who doesn't know, maybe you're outside of America, if you wanted to live in Texas, you could probably do worse than Austin. In fact, I think it's maybe the only city I'd want to live in Texas. Austin is kind of the hipster, artsy part of Texas. They've got the whole Portland thing, like keep Austin weird. That's mentioned in the book a few times. I don't know how far back that goes. I don't know if they had those stickers in the 80s, but pretty sure it's where Joe Rogan gets his weed now that he's in Texas. I think it's one of the only places in Texas where they're not prosecuting weed. That's something. But yeah, Austin's this little...
They don't prosecute. They shoot on sight. Texas.
Austin's this little bastion of culture in Texas. And it does legitimately have a vibrant music scene that's going to feature prominently in the book.
Oh, God, is it ever.
You could call the book a love letter to Austin, Texas. And I don't think you would be surprised to learn that Ernest Cline lives there.
Wow. Who would have thought?
Though he was not
now, when did he move
born
there? Because we know that he was born in Ohio because that's where the headquarters for all of the big tech industries are in Ready Player One.
Yeah. I think it'd be more likely to be in Austin. Austin actually has a pretty good tech scene.
Yeah, but you don't understand, Ben. When the world environmental collapse happened, Ohio was the only place that had It was free from pirate gangs. So that was one thing.
Ohio was the only place that was free from pirate gangs. Okay. Ohio, here's a tough one for you. I think we can both agree there's Texas economy is pretty good.
The 10th largest economy in the world.
Yeah,
That's what they'll say.
That's true.
They'll say over and over again. And if they decided to secede from the U.S., I'm pretty sure that economy is going to go down pretty fucking fast.
I think Texas is one of the few states that could viably secede from the Union. Ironically, California is one of the other ones.
Yeah.
Most of the ones I'm thinking of would be coastal, but Texas they do all right. They do all right for as much shit as they get. So I could see people living in Texas. The big question is.
Yeah, how'd that snowstorm work out, you fucks? Anyway, go on, Ben. What's up?
Florida or Ohio? You gotta choose one.
What's the question?
You have to move to one.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm taking a big bet here, you see, because, Florida's probably the nicer state, but has the way crazier government, right? Like if I move to Florida, I'm making the bet that my daughter is not going to be trans or gay.
If you move to Florida, you're basically praying that the Disney Corporation just seizes control of the state.
Yeah. You know things are bad when you're rooting for Disney to get a total victory in court.
Yeah. Versus Ohio, it could. I don't even know anything about the government of Ohio. It could be a lawless wasteland.
I mean, it is kind of not great. I guess I have family in Ohio.
Wow, you're going to Ohio, aren't you?
I
think you're going to Ohio. I think you just
I hear you could get a house in Cleveland for a nice VCR.
You could get a block in Cleveland for what you'd pay for a house where I live. Okay, but enough bashing Ohio. Unfortunately, it doesn't factor into this book. This is a book about Austin, Texas. This is a book about Opal B. Flats.
Yeah.
Opal B. Flats is a young girl. She's in 8th grade, which I think is why they call it a middle grade book, because she's a middle grader.
Except she graduates, doesn't she? She goes on to high school after this, because that's what you do after 8th grade. And this is definitely not an 8th grade level book. No way.
So, notable differences about Opal versus every other Ernest Cline protagonist. Ernest Cline likes to make young, angry white men his main characters. They usually have no education. They're pretty good with computers. They could definitely have a computer science degree. They just don't for some reason. Probably just nobody ever gave them a chance. And dead parents, very cynical, very rational atheist type. Easter Bunny's not real. Kid, get wrecked. Just big Elon Musk fanboys. Every Ernest Cline protagonist. But not Opal B. Flats. Opal B. Flats, I mean, already the book is better than anything he's ever written because she is not dripping with cynicism and rage at a world he feels owes him something. Opal is just a happy-go-lucky tween teen who likes to draw and likes old music. he couldn't leave that entirely behind, because like every Ernest Cline's shtick, his artistic signature, I guess, he has decided will forever be, I like the pop culture of the 80s.
Yes.
That is his message. That is his purpose. And he's just never going to do anything else. He's always going to try to glorify the pop culture of the 80s. So,
Yeah.
more
That
tolerably...
shitty decade that ruined everyone else's lives. Thanks a lot, asshole. While you were watching Transformers and eating your Fruity Pebbles, Ronald Reagan was out there. Asshole! Anyway, go on.
I saw a meme the other day.
Is it Ronald Reagan is still dead, the Twitter?
No, we talked about that in another episode. No, this meme was... have you ever seen that men going back in time, women going back in time?
No. What is this?
This is a meme format. They use like the Chad like thing kind of format, but it's like women going back in time, and they usually do something like sensitive, like I'm your granddaughter, and then it's men going back in time, and they usually do something like bizarrely specific about history. But in this format,
how often do you think of the Roman Empire? Right?
More often recently. But this one was the woman goes back and tells the guy who tried to shoot Ronald Reagan that the caliber of bullet is too small. He's definitely going to survive that. You're going to need to use a bigger round. And the guy goes back and he's like, that bullet is too small. You're definitely going to need to use a bigger round. But no, Opal, she doesn't have anything to say about Ronald Reagan. Thankfully. But Opal likes old music. Old even by the standards of the 80s. So the story is set in 1982, I think. Around the time the Bats would be arriving in Austin. And Opal's favorite musician is Buddy Holly, who even at this time is dead.
Yeah.
And has been for years. So this brings us to the first problem of the book. So Opal and her mom, who she's very close to, they bond over a TV show called Austin City Limits. This is a real show. I think it is still going.
Of course it's a real show, Ben.
It is like a music live performance kind of show. It's on public access TV in the Austin area or the Texas area. I don't know, all of Tech, maybe. I don't know. I'd never heard of it until this book, but it's real. And it has all the best musicians on it. It's just so great. You got to watch Austin City Limits all the time. Every weekend we watch Austin City Limits, and it's cute. It's fine to have a little tradition like that. But Opal, she's weird. And I'm not really sure
she is.
What makes her weird.
She's weird, Ben. She likes Buddy Holly.
She likes Buddy Holly. So Opal doesn't have any friends. Not even one. Not one friend. And
yeah. And you know why, Ben? Because everyone else just doesn't get her weirdness, okay? Maybe everyone else is just a dick.
I'm skeptical of this message.
If you don't have friends, then everyone else is to blame. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Look, on one hand, Opal is a great kid. By everything I hear in the book, she's
barrel-shaped, Ben.
She's a little heavy, but... And I'm sure she got made fun of for that. My weight has fluctuated wildly throughout my life. I've been fit. I've been fat. I've been made fun of for it. I've never not had a single friend because I was overweight. I'm sure it's probably harder for girls.
Yeah, you know that one guy whose name I won't mention, but like I don't think that being overweight or in fact his very dense, very large bones that he made me feel, that's not why people don't like him.
So this is the challenge here,
It's
okay?
because he keeps buying mouse pads that are anime tits.
This is the thing, okay? Opal likes to draw. Opal likes music. So she's a little out of like the pop culture. She doesn't necessarily like what's hip and trendy.
Like Transformers.
She's
Thundercats. Beetleborgs.
It would be interesting if she hated those things, but he just never brings them up. I wonder if he could write a protagonist who hates those things. And tells somebody who likes them that they're bad. And shallow
there you go.
And stupid.
No, that's the antagonist right there. Or it's the protagonist's journey to learn to love those things.
Okay, so Opal is the nicest kid there ever was. Super caring, super empathetic, always trying to help other people out, and also inexplicably hated by everyone in her class except her immediate family. I don't understand that. Like, I'm struggling here because on one hand, I don't want to say that it's wrong to tell a kid who is maybe having a hard time socializing that they should have self-esteem and they shouldn't let the insults and bullies get to them, because they shouldn't. Bullying's a huge problem. I don't want anyone to feel bad about intrinsic things that are hard to change. Like if a kid's struggling with their weight, bullying them is just going to make them struggle more with their weight. Like that's well studied and documented. But it's weird that Opal doesn't have a single friend and we have to celebrate her weirdness. Like this is where I don't know, would I have had as big a problem with this if I didn't know who was writing it?
Well, we wouldn't have read it.
There is that. But I just feel like with Ready Player One.
Well, that is going to bring up a good point, Ben. Why Ernest Cline? Why this book? Like, just why?
So there's a reason, a stated reason. And it's I had this idea and the only thing I could possibly write it down on was a napkin. It's one of those like author stories. You know how every children's book author, like, it's a story I used to tell to my children when they were growing up. This is a story he used to make up for his kids. He used to tell them about Opal B. Flats moving into Austin from the Panhandle and bringing all the bats with her.
Except they weren't in the Panhandle, Ben.
Opal was.
She moves twice.
Yeah,
she's
she
in the
moves twice.
Panhandle, and then she moves to the center, and then she moves to Austin.
Okay, my main thing is, do you find it weird, and do you think it's just because of Ernest Cline? Like, you have a young child. Maybe you're better equipped to answer this question.
I would be concerned if my child had exactly 0 friends.
Would your advice to your child, would you investigate?
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I knew weird kids. I probably was considered a weird kid. I still had friends. I didn't have hordes of friends, but I had some really close friends that I liked and who liked me. It would be strange to have exactly 0 friends and to spend all my time hanging out with my mom.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be concerned about that, right? You'd be asking Opal questions about, like, well, why? What do the kids say? Like, what's going on? You might even ask the teacher, like, what's going on in the classroom? And Because it could well be that Opal struggles with, I don't know, some kind of developmental problem or something like that. And
social interactions, or maybe she's just got really bad gas, Ben. You don't know.
I don't, but like I'm skeptical of this message of somebody like being hated by literally every person they meet, and like the message you give to that person is fuck the haters, bro. You do you.
Fuck the haters, move to Austin, Texas.
If literally everyone you meet has a problem with you, it's maybe you.
Yeah, the answer should be no one likes you. Fuck the haters, run for president.
And again, like, if this were actually like targeted at a middle grade audience, I'd assume that by the time a kid's like 13, they don't need advice on socializing. They've heard all the anti-bullying seminars for all the good they do. Like this kind of shallow, like, embrace your weirdness. It's like, well, there's going to be some band kid somewhere who's like
you and the fucking band kids.
No, I mean, I say band kid because she likes music. And I'm not actually making fun of the band kids in this instance.
She should be part of a gigantic group of like-minded individuals, all using the power and bond of their instruments to ruin your life, Ben.
I would rather my child be a band kid than be miserable and alone. Like, if my child came out to me as a band kid, it would hurt.
As a band kid.
It would hurt. But I'd still love them.
Mom, Dad, I just need you to know I've been secretly playing the clarinet for the last 6 months.
Oh, God, I'd be lying if I said I didn't see this coming. Oh, God. It's okay, son. Nothing you can ever do will make me stop loving you. I don't know how we're going to tell your grandmother. Oh, I'm not even joking. I would rather my kid just tell me they're gay. I'd be like, oh, well, okay, you know what? Could be worse. Could be a theater kid.
Oh, God.
And then they'd be like, oh, about that. I'm actually also auditioning. And that's when I start smoking again. I'm kidding. This is a joke, by the way. I'm kidding. I don't think these are actually, they're annoying hobbies. I was annoyed by these people when I was in school, but I'm not actually not actually suggesting a kid should be bullied over it. So.
All right. So Opal B. Flats, Ben.
Opal B.
Sure
Flats.
has a nice mom. Really great mom.
Yeah, her maiden name is Sharp.
Person. Yeah.
Isn't that a cute little story?
And Sharp. And all their middle names are A, B, C, D, E, F, or G after the musical notes. And like one of them, I think her dad was an F flat. And so he deserved to die, right? Like if you're an F flat, that's just an E. You call it an E, or like off you go. I think he died in Vietnam. So, yeah.
He died in Vietnam. There's a brief message where she asks her mom, why do people go to war? And her mom's like, all wars is bad, honey.
And then
Shy's in the background going, war never changes.
And like all wars are bad, but like, how did it work out for you when like your parents got all that prosperity from World War II? I'm just gonna, you know what? Yeah, never mind. Anyway, yeah, all wars are bad. Her dad's dead, but thankfully she has a mom. Her mom's really nice. I'm sure nothing bad is gonna happen to her mom. It's gonna be great.
Her mom's dead.
Her mom gets a super stroke. Apparently, guys, it's fast, right? The facial droop, you got the arms, slurred speech, and then T is for time. Time is brain. You gotta check the time.
What's the one where
right?
she falls down dead instantly?
No, she went to the hospital and
Yeah,
died
after
in the hospital.
falling into a coma. She went from being fully awake, doing her job, to in a coma.
Yeah, I did.
I'm not
was
saying
like,
that can't happen. I'm just saying it was very sudden.
It was incredibly sudden. And I was like, okay, well, where did the clot come from? Did she have AFib? Did you use thrombolytics? Because that's how you treat a clot. It's a clot buster. Like, that's the... All right, whatever. No, that's cool. That's cool.
My sister worked on a stroke unit, and I'm sure if she's listening to this episode, she's going to text me to tell me whether you've analyzed this correctly or if she has any suggestions.
Well, you have to make sure that it is a clot-based stroke, right? That you don't want to use thrombolytics if it's not a clot, because if it's a bleed, you're gonna bleed more.
Well,
That's a hemorrhagic stroke.
Opal's mom
She's dead now.
She's dead.
Yeah, they didn't have thrombolytics in the panhandle of Texas. And I could see that. As someone who recently went to Texas to see the solar eclipse, Panhandle sucks. The Panhandle was the worst part of the entire trip. I definitely advise avoiding it at all costs. You know what's worse? Once you get through the Panhandle, you're in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
That's where Tiger King was filmed.
Oh my god, of course it is. Of course it is. I'm
I
not
think-
surprised.
What is it? There's more tigers in Oklahoma than there are in the jungle?
Wow. Okay, well. So yeah, her mom's dead, but luckily she has an uncle. Uncle Roscoe.
Kind of luckily.
Now,
Uncle
he's a
Roscoe's not
farmer,
really in a place where he should be taking full custody of a child.
Hey, he's 22 years old. He has a farm. It sounds like the start of a Harvest Moon game, all right?
He's 22
Stardew
years
Valley
old. He has
2,
a farm in active
Texas
foreclosure.
Boogaloo. And he got rid of all the animals on the farm because, like, you know, having animals, that's wrong, Ben.
And did you know when you have animals, you gotta butcher them?
Ernest Cline is not a vegan, so I don't get this message.
Handling raw chicken, best part of the job. Finger licking good.
I think they're just trying to paint Roscoe
As a dumb motherfucker? Yeah. Mission
gentle.
accomplished.
I don't think he's supposed to be. He is supposed to be kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But he's good with computers.
But not at crops or like running a farm. And he's been failing at this for years. He also has a mortgage. Now, Ben, why does he have a mortgage? I ask because if this farm has been in their family for generations, you don't have to keep paying a mortgage.
Nate,
Once you own the land, your mortgage is paid off. You just pay property tax.
Nate, I wondered this myself. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it would be. I thought it would be pedantic to bring this up. I thought it would be
No,
nitpicking.
why do you have a mortgage if you've owned this farm for generations?
Okay, so here I can think of a reason why you would have a
They
mortgage.
took out a mortgage.
He took out a
paid for something
mortgage,
else.
yeah, to cover a debt.
Probably healthcare related.
I don't think so. She just dropped dead. That's the
No,
cheapest stroke
but
you
his
could have.
dad, Roscoe's dad had some sort of illness, and that's why Roscoe didn't go to university. He stayed here to run the farm into the ground, straight into the ground, and evidently took out money to...
Okay, so let's talk about something here. There's 2 books in this book.
I would say there are 2 halves and then another book. I'd say there's 3 total. kind of.
So
There's that short stint where you're in the Panhandle is like, why are we here? Oh, she's dead. Okay, move on. You could cut that part out, but
it's a little long, but I don't think it jives with the rest of the first half.
It jives with your mojo, dog.
Oh, God. Okay.
They keep using the word mojo. I just have to point out, Austin Powers is a thing. I can't not hear him yell,
I've lost my mojo!
every time that they said mojo in this.
Well, Ernest Cline didn't watch any movie made after 1989, so he doesn't know.
That was when the bad times happened.
They weren't good. No, so the book is split into two distinct parts. Before Austin,
after 1989.
After
Anyway.
Austin.
Yeah.
So before they go to Austin is the time she spends with her mother and then the time she spends on Roscoe's farm. They're setting up the first half like every generic quasi-environmental 80s movie. There's a big evil corporation that wants to develop the land. In this case, it is a limestone quarry.
A limestone quarry and pesticide company. Because they also have a chemical conglomerate in there.
Okay, first part of it being mostly true. I cannot find who this was supposed to be. If this limestone / pesticide / political giant is supposed to exist, this evil corporate whatever, I don't know who it was supposed to be.
Big limestone.
Yeah,
don't you just hate big limestone?
In Texas of all places. Texas tea, black gold. Couldn't think of anything else. It's gotta be limestone.
Well, how else are we going to dynamite this cave with all the bats, Ben, other than to get that good limestone?
Okay, so going back to it being mostly true.
So yeah, there was a cave.
There are a ton of limestone caves in central Texas, which is actually why they have such a large population of Mexican free-tailed bats.
Great.
The Mexican free-tailed bats live there in the springs and summers, and then they fly south in the winters. So, it is plausible that there was a colony of Mexican free-tailed bats living in a limestone cave near a farm. And I guess it's also plausible that a greedy limestone prospector...
No, company, Ben. Not just a prospector. A company of limestone quarry owners. They're like, I need that limestone, and I don't care how many bats I have to kill to get it.
I don't want to say that isn't plausible. It might be totally... I know nothing about the limestone business.
Yes.
I do think limestone is fairly cheap because it's everywhere.
My biggest thing about this is not that it's implausible or anything. It's that, like you said, this is 2 books. Who cares about them later on? You got like his family, and like, yeah, I guess they sure do boo him out of the building, but they win, right? They got the land.
So there's this colony
blow
of bats.
Open the hole.
There's this colony of bats, right? They live in a limestone cave near the farm. Opal's struggling to adjust to life with her uncle. She's a kid who's just lost a parent. She doesn't have a lot of family. She doesn't have any friends. And so she's in a really vulnerable place right now.
Oh my god, what's that out the window? Oh my god, it looks like a saucer that's flying in the air and there's strange lights and what is happening? Whoa! And then she woke up and she was in her bed, but it's so weird. That's how it came off.
Opal is abducted by aliens.
That's not a joke. That is exactly what happens.
So Roscoe, her uncle, has a relationship with these bats. There's a little bit of foreshadowing about the bats. You know this is called Bridge to Bat City. You know something's going to happen with these bats. Opal is initially reluctant. She's afraid of bats, like many kids are. And then she gets abducted by this UFO. I guess after that, the bats don't seem so scary. Also, she has the mysterious ability to speak to bats. Presumably, this was given to her by the aliens. Now, this chapter is going to seem out of place to you if you are not an Ernest Cline scholar, say perhaps you're a child. And this is one of the first books you've ever read. What you need to know about Ernest Cline to understand this is that in most children's stories, if you wanted to have something like a child has the ability to talk to animals, that could be an inherent ability. It could somehow be connected to her mother's death. So like an ordinary fairy tale plot for this would be Opal's mother dies. Opal doesn't have any friends. She's struggled for a long time to relate to other people. And she just wishes she had somebody to talk to. And then, oh, what? Shooting star, 4-leaf clover, whatever. The wish comes true. She can talk to the bats. But Ernest Cline...
I've seen the wild thornberries.
Yeah.
And, I know how it works.
Ernest Cline is a staunch atheist. Annoyingly so. To the point where I don't think... he would rather a plausible... I'm not going to say scientific, but like scientistic... explanation, something with the thin veneer of science that he doesn't understand laid over it than any kind of mystical explanation that could be used as shorthand for a child. Ernest Cline is one of those people that tells their kids Santa is not real. Because God forbid you think for 1 second the world isn't as terrible as it is. So that's why the aliens are there. She's abducted by aliens because a more conventional storytelling approach is quite frankly beneath Ernest Cline.
So and why do the aliens give her the ability to talk specifically to bats? I don't know. They're aliens. Maybe the aliens are bats. Are strange. You don't know.
That's what I was thinking. The aliens are bats. There's not even a wink and a nod to this. Not even a attempt to explain what was going on. The bats or the aliens are never there, like waving to Opal at the end. There's not even a hint that this was their plan all along, but like that they wanted to save the bats, perhaps. It's just aliens, because I couldn't think of anything else that I wasn't offended by, and I needed to talk to bats. Aliens. I'm so lol random. Okay. Opal can talk to bats now. So she's watching Austin City Limits with her uncle. And the bats, like 12 bats come and they hang on her clothesline, and she notices they're watching the show with them, bobbing their heads to the beat. And she opens all the windows so they can hear better, and the bats love it. And she's shocked that she can understand that the bats love it. She can understand them talking to each other. She knows all their names. She eventually learns their musical preferences. And again, this is a point where
does she know their names? I thought she gave them all names.
I don't know.
And she calls them the Clothesline Crew, and they're each pairs of bats, and they each like different types of music. And I'm sure that will be fascinating later when each and every single pair finds a musician in Austin who plays that genre, and we get to really dive into them dancing.
Hey, look, I'll tell you right now, the relationship between Opal and the Bats is cute. Probably the strongest part of the book. All the interactions she has with the Bats, it's really hard to screw up a little kid forming an unlikely animal friendship. Like, you'd have to be an absolute moron stepping on a rake to not get that right. And congratulations to Ernest Cline. He has met that very low bar.
I would
Kids
agree.
and unlikely animal friends, always cute. If a puppy plays with a kitten, that's always going to be cute. You know? It writes itself. Why he had to include aliens, I'll never know. So the Bats jam out. We get a laundry list of your kid's favorite musicians: Muddy Waters, ZZ Top,
Willie Nelson, who I'm sure is just popular with all the kids.
I am going to say something about this book specifically, and not his other books.
Okay.
I like his taste in music in this book. The selection of musicians he chooses to highlight are in fact quite good and representative of several different genres of guitar music.
Where is Prince?
I don't care. I like Prince. He's fine. But I just didn't think he should be 2/3 of a book for teenagers. He was a charismatic man. Problematic. He went like weird conservative Christian later in life. But yeah, he liked purple and he had good hair. Prince is fine. But like, I guess here's my thing. So I don't know what young kids listen to. Funk, I assume. That was that's a genre. That's a genre.
Okay, I was gonna say, is that a band or a genre? Okay.
That's a genre of like gamer music.
Okay.
It's just music that like Twitch streamers like to listen to.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Whew. I was worried for a moment.
No, it's
all
not
right.
like chiptune or synthwave or anything like that.
Okay.
No. I don't know what they listen to. I assume like probably the youngest artist I have enjoyed a song from is Olivia Rodrigo. I think she's like in her 20s. But I would point out,
I also don't care what they listen to.
well, I would care if I was writing a book for them.
No, you want to get them invested in your music.
Yeah, that has always worked for every generation.
Yeah. So you are going to hear my book about Ninja Sex Party. There you go.
Ninja Sex Party.
Ninja Sex Party.
The parody band by a YouTube person. Okay. I guess my thing is, if you think about the popular music now,
I don't.
Taylor Swift would not be born until 6 years after this book takes place. So, and Taylor Swift is old now. She's my age. Like,
oh my God.
She's huge, but her career has probably peaked, I would say.
Yeah, but has her love life peaked? She's with Travis Kelce.
It would be better for her career if it has not peaked. She would make a very good album out of that breakup. I want to hear the album where Taylor Swift has to sell her private jet. That's going to be the most difficult breakup yet. I'm starting beef with Taylor Swift fans for no reason.
Why? Why?
But my point is, this is not... So we're the age of the parents of the kids who would read this book. Our music is not this music. Like, we're not even showing them our parents' music. We're showing them our parents. Like, the kids reading this book are going to be hearing about not their parents' favorite music, maybe their grandparents' favorite music, but quite possibly their great-grandparents' favorite music. Elvis and Buddy Holly, though they will always be like icons, I don't know how many 12-year-olds or I mean, and that's even pretty old for this book, like 10-year-olds? What 10-year-old is going to know who Buddy Holly is in 2024?
A weird one, Ben. Maybe that's why she has no friends. She won't shut the fuck up about Buddy Holly.
I think that's probably it. Like, no, I'm serious. Because I think the problem is Opal has weird interests, and it doesn't sound like she cares about meeting anyone halfway to talk to them. You either like what she likes or you get out.
Yeah, because if you don't like Buddy Holly, are you even really a person?
Buddy Holly's fine. I prefer Prince to Buddy Holly.
I know who Buddy Holly is. I will say that much.
Yeah, he looks like the guy from Weezer.
That's about as far as I can go. Ben, do we need to get to Austin? We're running long.
Yeah.
So
you go for a while.
Okay, so she knows that what these bats are thinking. She's named all of them. They all like different forms of music, and they all live in a big old beautiful cave. A big old beautiful cave.
Beautiful cave.
It's a cave that is big. It's a cave that is old.
It's as big as it is old, beautiful, and blown to smithereens.
Oh, yep, it exploded. Yeah, yep, the evil Limestone Corporation blew it up because the Bat's Cave made the problem, Ben. The Bat's Cave, it had the distinction of not being on Uncle Roscoe's property. So the limestone quarry can happen just right next door.
It's going to be a fun adventure to see how they are able to find a place for the bats to live and get Uncle Roscoe's farm back from the bank and kick the limestone company out of this town.
Yeah, actually, I've decided I'm going to just go get a part-time job at Radio Shack in Austin. You want to go?
Can you, honest to God, support a family with a part-time job at Radio Shack in 1982?
Yes, it's the 80s. I could start a business if I worked at a Radio Shack full-time and a McDonald's part-time. So, yeah, I could support a family on a part-time job.
God fucking damn you, Ronald Reagan.
So, yeah, he gets rid of the farm. But don't worry, if you think that the Limestone Company got it, he said he sold it to like a farm co-op or something, but I assume that co-op is just going to sell it to the Limestone Company anyway.
It was just the limestone guy in a Scooby-Doo mask.
Because, I mean, all the other land around this farm has already been sold to the Limestone people. They'll probably just sell it to the Limestone people, but don't think about that. That story's over.
Well, and here's the thing about farmland. The best farmland is not directly next to a quarry.
Yeah. I also don't think it's in Texas. I I could be wrong on that, but
I think Texas does decent agriculture. It's a big
does it
state.
do decent like farming plant agriculture? I can see cows, I could see animals, livestock. I don't know about farming. I'm not gonna look it up. I don't care. I mean, they said that the land west of St. Louis was garbage, and now like all the wheat comes from here and the corn. So, maybe Texas is just fine. But the fact is, that story's over. Who cares about the farm, Ben? Farm is old news. We're going to Austin. Everything we talked about in the podcast so far, forget about it. Opal's dead mom? Who cares? This farm? Who cares? The evil limestone people? They'll come back kind of, sort of, but not really. So we're going to Austin, and we're taking all these bats. We're going to find them a home in the city.
Which is a buck wild thing to think you could do if you didn't already know there was a bridge that coincidentally was constructed to be nothing but bat boxes. Because, like, most cities don't have a giant bat colony. Maybe they do.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I had someone tell me that they had a bunch of bats in their attic, and then it turns out those bats were a protected species, so they had a hell of a time getting them out. And I was like, who's gonna know? Who's gonna know? Hey, those bats were on fire when I got up here.
I believe in the United States, all bats are protected, and you are not allowed to kill them.
Yeah. I didn't kill them. I found them like that. Dead. For being in my fucking attic.
If you think you can get away with it,
and they're put on this stake as a warning to the other bats. I found them like that.
Couldn't you just call somebody to come remove the bats and then plug up the holes in their attic?
That was the eventual solution, but there was some weird hang up. And look, all I'm saying is like, prove I did it.
How are you going to burn the bats out without setting your house on fire? I feel like karma's going to find you real quick for this one.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to find out, Ben.
To be clear, I'm team bats. I want these bats to succeed. I like bats.
I want them to succeed, but over there. Not in my house.
I don't want a bat in my... I don't like things that flap. I'm not big on birds either. Like, I like birds. They're fine. But like you said, just over there.
Stay out of my house.
Did I ever tell you about the time I slapped a bat?
No, but this sounds awesome.
Not really. So I was actually at... Oh my god.
Oh god, never yuck anyone else's yum, as my mama used to say. Your mama died.
Do you think he listens to words about books? Because that was like right there, front and center.
That I said for 1 second I was worried this would be better written, but you pulled me back down to Shitsville. So.
I kind of wondered if that wasn't targeted specifically at us, because that's like one of the first lines in the book. Don't yuck anyone else's yum.
My mama always said, life is like a box of yucking someone's yum. Oh, Sears or Kmart? I was like, okay, this is definitely in the past.
I worked at Sears.
Yeah, you did.
No. So I actually parked my car underneath a tree at a certain big-boned individual's house. And I got out of my car, and there was a bat in the tree. And it flew down. Like, I scared it, and then it scared me. And I think we both started flailing wildly. and I made contact.
You got him.
I may have screamed. But I got him. I think it was fine. I did not see a crushed bat wing or anything like outside of my car when I came out later, but I also like got in through my passenger side and like crawled over. That's my that's the story about the time I slapped a bat.
So the clothesline crew, they're gonna find a new place for the bat colony to live. But every time that happens, they get sidetracked with music and they can't help themselves and they just dance all night and rub their mojo on everyone.
You can't stop me now, Mr. Powers. I have your mojo.
And he repeats that like 6 times. Are there 12 of them or are there 10 of them? 5 or 6 times, same exact wording, but with a different musician.
It was a hell of a night in Austin. Like,
the
best band from every genre was playing.
Yeah. It was like they had at least 6 concerts of the best band.
ZZ Top, Selena. I'm trying to remember who else. It was insane.
Oh, she's described as some sort of bat Pied Piper. That means like it ends poorly for the bats.
Yeah, no, and the bats, the rats weren't rats in that story.
So let's see. They were gonna go to these empty buildings, but they were scheduled for demolition in a few days. And they knew that because the bats could read English. Maybe the aliens got the bats too, Ben. Let's see. Here's a note that says, I just skipped ahead because I saw where this was going. And then they went to... All I can think of is Austin Powers and his very potent semen. Is one of my notes. So it's tradition, Austin, to eat Mexican food for your very first breakfast in Austin and for every breakfast afterwards. And so the Opal and her uncle, they go to eat food, and her uncle falls in love at first sight with a waitress, and the waitress has a daughter who's Opal's age, and they're friends now.
It's amazing how easy it was for them to make friends, because they both draw.
Yeah, it was super easy. Barely.
Opal is actually not mentioned as drawing all that often until right now.
But there are lots of illustrations in the book.
Yeah.
So... But they mentioned it before. She got all those notebook things from her mom, and she wrote about drew all the favorite musicians, and yeah, that's about how I feel. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so they're like outside eating, and Maria, that's the girl's name. It's like, oh, you guys want to come inside? Because no one wants to sit outside because of all the mosquitoes and bugs. And, like, there's a trend emerging here, because she's not the first person to say there's so many mosquitoes and flies here, Ben. And everywhere we go, we're just going to yada, 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 okay? Over and over again, the bats show up and eat all the bugs. Like lightning-fast flying ninjas just whoosh, fly right in, grab all those bugs, eat them all. And everyone's like, thank you, bats, you saved the day. And everyone starts to turn toward these bats. Well, they're now living in the bridge. Opal's like, hey, I found this bridge. Come get everyone over here. Anyway. That's why they're in the bridge now.
There's initially a big push against the bats from the city.
Yeah, the newspaper guy, he had a fear of bats. And luckily, Uncle Roscoe works at the paper later on. And he cures that guy of his phobia. That's how it works. Roscoe
Oh.
Whatever his name is.
Why are you calling him Roscoe? No one is named Roscoe.
It could be Moscow, but with an R. Anyway, Ben, Roscoe, he's like a super therapist. He fixed this guy's phobia of bats just by talking to him.
Well, what he did was threaten to kick his ass if he didn't stop writing about the bats. Cured his phobia. That's not a good story to tell here. I gave him something to be afraid of.
Oh, they mentioned Richard Garriott, that fucking dick.
I don't know who that is.
He made the Ultimate games, and he goes by Lord British. So yeah, Ben, there's an initial push against them. The Muckerno, or whatever it's called, the evil Muckerno Chemical and Limestone Company. They've got one of theirs on the council. And why does he hate bats so much? Well, I don't know. It's because all the Muckernos are just born bad.
It's a war for the soul of the city of Austin between the Limestone Company and the little girl who likes bats.
Luckily, the little girl has I assume, future governor of the state, Ann Richards.
The one the bridge is named after. I guess I'll interrupt you here to give you another, it's a mostly true story thing. Ann Richards, as far as I can tell, had nothing to do with this.
Oh my god.
Other than having the bridge named after her, I don't think she was super involved in the bat movement.
Yeah, because she's the governor, and Texas is a big state, and Austin has a mayor, and that's the mayor's job. Or the city council. Whatever.
There's also a journalist, Molly Ivins.
Yeah. What was her deal?
Again, she might have written about the bats, but not like a leader in the movement, not a hugely important figure.
Was Willie Nelson involved in it? Because he had the best 4th of July picnic ever because all the bats came and ate all the mosquitoes, Ben.
I have no idea. I couldn't find anything about that either. You'd think if he did, it would be easier to find. So Molly Ivins, she is a big deal, I guess. She's a very popular Austin journalist. Very liberal. I think she's in the book because Ernest Cline just likes what she writes.
What about Mr. Merlin, the bat conservationist?
So yeah, now we've touched on the real thing. So the actual story of Bat City and the campaign to save the bats is Merlin Tuttle's story.
Oh.
It was his campaign.
Oh, well, he shows up on page 276 of this, 316 page book.
Yeah, so Merlin Tuttle, the book does get this right. He did find out that this was going on in Austin. He was a bat researcher. He left a job to go to Austin to campaign to allow
against
the bats...
Big Limestone.
Well, he campaigned to allow the bats to live under the bridge. And I think this was a big moment for him because it was a big conservation step if he could get it done. Like if we could find a way for urban human development to coexist with bats, like it would really be an example of something that worked, that didn't hugely inconvenience anyone or cost a lot of money or pit environmentalists against corporate interests. Like this was a win-win for his movement. And so he came in and he started not an aggressive, but an education campaign. He basically just went to talk to everybody he could. He got on the news and he told them exactly what the bats' deal was, exactly, how the diseases that bats are rumored to carry work, the diseases bats could carry versus the diseases they could prevent by taking out mosquitoes, things like that. And he actually talked about his brand of environmentalism where he didn't want to be super confrontational. He didn't want to go up and tell people that they were wrong or stupid or immoral. Say, for example, by creating a straw man limestone corporation that represents
evil big limestone, Ben. It's a big problem. You don't understand.
Yeah, I don't think that is the Merlin Tuttle approach. Is just painting corporate interests as being super duper evil. Just a thing I read that I thought was interesting for no particular reason. But yeah, as far as I could tell, there were no children involved in the movement. Opal B. Flats is and I mean, obviously the name was fictional, but like not based on a real person. There was no child activist that did anything. These bats...
She didn't have a sweet zine on bats?
She didn't have a sweet zine on bats. As far as I can tell, the bats did not come to Austin as the result of a limestone cave being destroyed.
Are you saying Uncle Roscoe did not eventually go on to co-found Dell?
Maybe. I don't know who co-founded Dell. I'm sure Ernest Cline thought of that and named it after the guy who co-founded Dell. Let's see who founded Dell.
Michael Dell. I don't think there was a co-founder.
Yeah. But Michael Dell is from Austin.
Yeah. And that's where Uncle Roscoe is. And so it only makes sense Uncle Roscoe, after he married the girl of his dreams who he talked to that one time, you remember it, Ben, he talked to her, he got to co-found Dell with Michael Dell. They don't call it Dell Flat or anything. It's just Dell. But Uncle Roscoe was there. And also, it says here that Opal, she has her friend. You remember Elena?
Yes.
I didn't give her a name. But now, Opal doesn't feel lonesome during recess. And my note said, why are you having recess in middle school? I didn't have recess in middle school, Ben. But not only that, if she was in 8th grade, she'd be in high school now. And we definitely didn't have recess in high school. Ben, help me out. Did you have recess after elementary school?
I had... Okay, so in middle school, we had a lunch period, and you could just wander outside at that lunch period. There wasn't like a playground or anything.
Right.
But people like tossed footballs and stuff. When I was in high school, I was actually one of the last batch of people to have off-campus lunch if you had a car.
Yeah, we had that and repealed it.
So you could leave if you wanted. A lot of people hung out outside on nice days. But we didn't call it recess. We just called it lunch.
Yeah. I didn't have recess after middle school. Or after elementary school.
Yeah.
But
I think you
yeah.
forgot. I think you forgot how
Should
old she was supposed to be.
Should we just go ahead and say, like, the campaign is... They win... And now Austin is insect-free, I guess.
Yeah, I guess
What do you think of the book, Ben?
So I didn't hate it.
I did not like it.
Let's take out the rubric.
Real glass half empty.
Let's take out the rubric.
But I will say, clearly, easily, the best book written by Ernest Cline.
It's the least offensive, for sure.
I would say is the best, for sure. And it's the one that people are going to care about the least, so that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah. Okay, you got your rubric up?
It's loading as slow as possible. Blog.wordsaboutbooks.ninja. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention, this is a new release, Ben. And also, this is only at least one of 2 Austin Bat Bridge themed books coming out this year.
I guess I'll plug this while we're here. It's not out. I haven't read it. I'm not going to read it. This is actually a children's book. Like, this is a 30-page fully illustrated book called Bats Beneath the Bridge by Janet Nolan and Emily Cox. And this is the story of Merlin Tuttle.
Huh.
It was written by Janet Nolan, the award-winning author of numerous fiction and nonfiction books. She has a BA from the Evergreen State College and a master's degree in urban planning and policy. I feel like that might make her more qualified to write a book about bat habitats in urban areas, but I don't know. I don't know what Ernest Cline has a degree in.
I have nothing, I'm sure. I do not know why this was the book he needed to write, but, whatever. You do you, I guess.
Yeah,
all right.
rubric?
Yes. Content and ideas, Ben.
I went for a 3.
I also went for a 3.
But can I tell you, I have... It's like a 3 with an asterisk. I don't like the marketing of this as a mostly true story.
Hey, there were bats, there was a bridge, there is a town in Texas called Austin. Sounds true to me.
So I think I compared it to the episode of Futurama where Fry becomes his own grandfather. Because technically, there was a Roswell, New Mexico incident involving an alien spaceship. Was it Fry from Futurama, and did he become his own grandfather? Probably not.
I don't know.
Would you call that episode a
grandmother?
mostly true story about the Roswell, New Mexico incident?
Yes. That's why it won an Emmy.
Did it win an Emmy? That
Yes.
episode?
Yes.
Okay. If that is a mostly true story, if you would be comfortable marketing that as a mostly true story, then I will give this as a mostly true story as well.
Okay. My issue I can talk more about after we get to the next section, which is organization, Ben.
Okay.
Wait, I went with a 3.
I went with a 3.
Here's the problem. The pacing, not so great. Like you said, 2 different books. Before Austin, after getting to Austin. And if you would have cut a lot more of the first part, you could have developed more of these threads in the second part. That was also why I docked on content and ideas. There is just not a whole lot here, and you could have done more with it without inflating the page count. I do appreciate his restraint at stopping at 300 pages, because the Ready Player 2 Ernest Cline, this would have been 600 pages, and it would have been insufferable. But I can't give him anything above average at best.
I don't know anything about how this book was sold. I don't know anything about the help he may have had writing it. But
I do think he had help.
My gut tells me
get that one in there.
He had help, not in the form of a ghostwriter, not in the form of anyone doing the actual words on the page for him. I think he had help in the editing department, and I think he had a lot of advice about writing for children. So I think it's quite possible his publisher, he came to them with the idea for the book about Bat City, and they liked it, and they probably hooked him up with the resources he needed to make a passable children's book, because I think if you're going to succeed in the children's book environment, you kind of need to pass a few check marks. Like, I got to imagine the beta readers for this include, like, people who put books in school libraries and stuff like that. Like, somebody, I would hope somebody who is in charge of those kinds of decisions, who knows more about the way children read, was involved. But yeah, obviously he could have done more. It's all over the place a little bit. Opal's journey, it feels far too much like he's drawing on his own childhood experiences again. I know Ernest Cline has a complicated relationship with his dad, it seems. Every book, somebody's dad dies before they get to know him. Yeah, the whole orphan thing, the whole raised by a family member, it's all like Wade was orphaned and raised by an aunt, right? So in this one, Opal is orphaned and raised by an uncle, and it doesn't fit the story. It makes far more sense for this to either be a story about Opal saving the family farm, or a story about Opal, local Austin girl, saving the bats, who are her only friends.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
So in that sense, I think the organization is like, it works. It's a book. It's coherent. It's missed opportunities in every direction.
Agreed. If you go with one direction or the other, you have a much more comprehensive, coherent book without inflating the page count.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs to stop doing the same exact thing every time. I do think this was a step in the right direction in terms of like content and ideas. I think having Opal ditch the cynicism of his other protagonists, very refreshing. Much easier to read if I don't actively want to beat the shit out of the main character.
Yeah.
But he needs to think about, okay, if Opal is this sweet, supportive, emotionally intelligent girl who would do anything to help anybody, how is it that she doesn't have friends? Do you think people hate those kinds of people? Do you think, like, sweet, nice people who would give you the shirt off their back are not popular?
No. As we learned, Ben, in The Giver, he gives and he gives and he gives. And he gives because he is sad, Ben.
Even the people in The Giver had friends. Even the people in The Giver had friends. They were robots. I don't know. I just think like he stepped in the right direction with Opal, got a little bit outside his wheelhouse, but then he just sort of lost it. All right, language.
3.
Yeah, I'm going with a 3 as well.
So he definitely tried to have a style, but there's still just way too much just telling us stuff. Repetitive language. I use the example of Haroon in the Sea of Stories, where it's got some like, I don't know if I'm being clear about it, but like whimsy. Like it feels like it's got some like childlike magic in the pages. This doesn't. This feels like a step away from a textbook.
I'm between a 2 and a 3 on the language. I went with a 3 because If it wasn't Ernest Cline, I think I would definitely go with a 3. It's my bias that's keeping him from being a 3. The issue I have with it is, if it is a middle grade book, the language is a complete failure.
For sure.
If it's
I think it is. I definitely think it's for like 2nd grade, dude.
Yeah, if it's a 2nd, 3rd grade book, it's fine. I don't think any kid will actually read this. And that's kind of my thing. Like, I don't know what child would choose to read this, because most of it is talking about musicians they have never heard of. They might read it if they're really into bats or if they're from Austin. But I don't see it becoming a children's classic anytime soon. And I don't know what you do with that.
Yeah? Oh, shit. We still have personal preference, Ben. What was your personal preference?
I actually went with a 3.
What? You actually liked it?
I would say generally positive is an accurate description of how I feel towards the book. It's not offensive. I thought the relationship between Opal and the bats was cute. I like the music he's celebrating. I like the idea of celebrating the place you live and going out of your way to highlight its culture and history.
Yeah, but also, who gives a shit about that?
I have a problem with the mostly true thing, but grading on a curve, again, if I throw out my bias against Ernest Cline, would I have given it a 3? I would give it a 3. If I did not know anything else about Ernest Cline, I would not go for a 2 on this.
I'm going for a 2. I didn't like it, but I can understand why others might like it. And you know what? That's gonna be as good as he gets right now. You know? Hey, for the other books, I gave it a 1 for personal preference. So I thought there was just too much repetition, and I will forget this book in a few days. All right. Recommendation, Ben. I went with a 2.5.
That's kind of where I'm at. A 2.5. I'd recommend it to people from Austin.
I would recommend it to Ernest Cline scholars. A very small niche of people.
If you're a kid from Austin, maybe it's cool to see your landmarks shouted out.
Is it?
I actually got a huge kick out of reading that one horror book that was set in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but that was different, right?
How?
Because that was, well, actually, you know what? I don't know, because I didn't read that book. So
I don't think you can. It's impossible to find.
I saw Supernatural. That's funny. You're right. So is the author. Supernatural. The Sam and Dean Winchester. I think they came from Lawrence, which is where I came from.
They did?
And I did not get a kick out of that, though, because the architecture is all weird. There were like 2 weird lakes. It looked rural as fuck. So what I'm saying is,
it would be better if you got it right. I guess that's the thing. I'm recommending it to people from Austin if they find it to be accurate to their experience.
There you go.
If it's not, then let me know and I'll lower it.
So, Ben, final grade. You gave it 3 stars. You gave it, what, 52 points?
I gave it on this
44 plus
44 plus 6.
Oh, you gave it a level 2, not a 2.5.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll give it a 2.5. So 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I gave it 47.
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It's a lukewarm positive review. Is it a good book? No. Is it a memorable book? No. But
it's a step in the right direction for Ernest Cline, and we should stop shitting all over him if he plans on continuing to write. Yes.
I think this is the first one. Well, Armada, I didn't have as many problems with. This book is fixable. I think that was my thing with Ready Player One, and especially Ready Player Two. Those books, scrap it and start over.
Yeah, your recommendation, just throw it out, write a new book.
Yeah. Throw it out, go to therapy, write a new book that isn't embarrassing. But Bridge to Bat City, you're showing growth. You're definitely, Ernest, I'm talking directly to you. If you're listening to this and you seek my approval, you're close, buddy. You're close to getting it. I tentative pass on this one.
Yeah, soon you'll be churning out slightly above mediocre books. So keep up.
Lord of the Rings out your fucking mouth, and you'll be doing you'll be doing a lot better.
All right, Ben, I'm gonna do the shit in post. Are we done?
We are done.
I thought we were done with Ernest Cline, but then he wrote another book.
He's not dead yet.
I figured after Ready Player 2 he had just retired. He silent retiring.
Ernest Cline is 52 years old. He is almost certainly going to make money on this book, I would think. And he will probably write another one. His name is still going to sell. It's selling books to us. We're falling for it.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to get to make another book or another movie with Steven, though. If
you
that's
don't know that, Ben.
I don't know
Bridge to
that.
Bat City might be that book. It's an '80s movie's in the making. If you,
I think Merlin Tuttle's going to sue somebody if you do, but
The Bridge to Bat City. What really happened? Maybe Merlin could be the bad guy in that. He could own the quarry.
I would like to see. In all
Merlin
honesty,
Tuttle dynamited their cave.
I did put in my review. I cannot believe I'm giving a lukewarm positive review to the children's book by the author of Nerd Porn Auteur.
The literal equivalent to the "How are you doing, fellow kids" meme. I'm reading reviews. They are not kind. When your Goodreads is doing, like we said this before, a high Goodreads score doesn't really mean shit, but a lower than average score does indicate a problem. This is a 3.6 right now.
I do think, though, that the people who is going to read this book,
Ernest Cline
no.
scholars.
Who is
Ben.
reading this the month it comes out? Ernest Cline scholars.
Ernest
You're
Cline
right. Ernest Cline scholars.
scholars.
People who fucking loathe Ernest Cline read this book to shit on it.
This person says, I tried to read the audiobook for class, but the strong southern accent made this feel a bit too young for 6th grade.
I wasn't joking. My accent's as good as hers. Now that big old beautiful cave is going to just...
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy,
You
y'all.
also said you listened to it on 3.5 times speed, and you could still understand everything.
Okay, let me give you a sample of what it actually sounds like. Hang on. Let me pull up the Amazon
Alright, I'm going to read the patrons real quick. Specifically, the Yacht Plan subscribers. First, we have Brad, aka Isekai Sensei Sama. From that time, I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcast. You've got Jamie, the Gravy Man, on the If You Want the Gravy blog, where he reviews movies and films and moving pictures, talking pictures. That's it. Those are the only things he reviews. Nothing else. Oh, and soda, soda and cereal. That's it. You got John Bierce, a real author.
And I thought about, in honor of him, turning up his thanks to 5 times speed. But I sell for 2 times speed.
And then there is Spooky Shy, Shy with a Y. I don't know which one. You can follow her on TikTok until the federal government shuts it down for good. Bye.
John Bierce listens to every book on 4.5 times speed, and often 2 books at the same time.
Well, I don't think he's going to be listening to this.
He said he listens to every episode of Words About Books, and that your laughter sounds like a machine gun.
I meant he's not going to be listening to the book, Bridge to Bat City. At least I hope not. John, if you're following along to all the books we're reading, I'm sorry. It's still full of 80s nostalgia, so his real audience is still Gen X. The generation no one cares about.
The least accomplished generation of our time. You had the .com bubble, and you ripped jeans.
Wow. They really didn't do anything.
No. Nirvana, I guess.
Yeah, but he's dead now.
And Gen X killed him.
Gen X killed him.
Courtney loves Gen X, right?
I don't know or care. I'm going to go now, Ben. My people need me.